Okay, we're rolling.
All right, this is an interview, home interview, Ithaca, New York. It is the 23rd of September, 2003, approximately 3 p.m. The interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give us your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Charles William Hurlbut, November 25th, 1924, New York City.
Okay. What was your education prior to entering military service?
High school graduate.
Okay. Do you remember where you were and your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, it was a Sunday afternoon. I was getting all jazzed up to meet some guys. We're going to go to a movie. And we never made the movie. It's just, we met, but we forgot about the movie.
How did you hear about this?
On the radio.
On the radio? Okay.
Radio.
What was your reaction at the time? Do you recall?
Oh God, this is awful. Now we're really in it. I had great feelings we'd have to get in the war in Europe.
Why was that?
I was convinced we'd have to go into the war, just for humanitarian reasons, you know. And then when Pearl Harbor hit, there was no question we were at war. Yeah.
Okay. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
Okay. How old were you when you were drafted?
18.
Okay. Where was your induction center?
Auburn, New York.
And where did you go from there for training?
Okay, we went first to Fort Niagara where we got our uniforms and processed and all that. Then they sent us out to Camp White, Oregon.
Now, can I stop a second? In '43, when you went to Fort Niagara, were there any POWs there yet? They had German POWs there for a while. Were they there at that time or not?
See, I don't remember seeing it.
Okay. All right. Where did you go from Fort
there, we were sent west to Camp White, Oregon, which is near Medford, about 20 miles from the California border. And that's where we took our basic and fundamental engineering. We were engineers, combat engineers. So
Now, did you take any tests, or did they just put you into the
They
engineers?
just put us there. They needed that group, so we were it. And what was unique about it, as I say, there were about 70 of us drafted out of Auburn all at one time. And we thought, we hit Niagara, we're all going to be split up. You'll go here, I'll go there, we'll go. But damn, they kept us all together. And yeah, 85% of us stayed together, all through our basic, all through the States, overseas, the whole war. So that made it kind of unique in a way. You had some old buddies there with you all the time. You know?
What kind of specialized training did you get as an engineer?
Well, engineer, you think of bridges, all types of bridges, foot bridges, bigger bridges, tank bridges, Bailey bridges, and a lot of mine detonation, planting mines, deactivating them, and a lot of infantry tactics, because combat engineers work with the infantry. They're very close. So we got a pretty well-rounded basic training.
How long was your training?
Oh, probably, let's see, 4 or 5 months, 4 I guess, yeah. And then we went on maneuvers in the Oregon desert for a couple of months. Then they sent us to Fort Lewis. We were there only a short time, and we all thought, okay, here we go to Japan, because we're on the west coast. But son of a gun, they sent us to Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida. And we took on a whole new aspect of training. We were now demolition engineers, underwater demolition. We knew that had to be in a beachhead someplace. So that's what we were trained at. We trained in what today would be the SEALs. We were they were the originators, and we worked right with it under Navy supervision.
So you wore the scuba gear and so on?
At times, yeah. But we'd come in to the beach, the big rubber raft full of explosives, and we put them on the obstacles and blow them. We were to make beach assault landings.
What kind of explosives did you use?
Oh, I think it was called C2. It was a putty-like material.
Okay, how long were you given that specialized training?
Oh, December, January. Possibly 3 months. At least a good 2 months, I know. Yeah. And then we set up the Camp Picket for a while. That's where I saw my first German prisoners. They were doing all the KP work. Happiest guys I ever saw in my life. And then we went to Camp Kilmer. And we're pretty sure this time everything got very secret and restricted that we're going to be shipping out. And we went into New York Harbor and overseas.
What, did you go in a convoy or a single
Yeah,
ship?
Convoy. Yeah.
Where did you go?
Well, we crossed the Atlantic, of course, and our destination, Cardiff, Wales. And then they took us to Ilfracombe, which is in Wales, and we continued our demolition training in the water.
Did you ever have, do you have any little stories about your training or anything like that?
Anything unusual happen?
No, pretty run of the mill.
Okay.
Did you ever have contact with the people of Wales, or were you pretty much on your base by yourself?
In Wales, no, very, very little. We marched from the ship to a train, little parade, and they all waved at us. That's about it. But we, in all our Fort Pierce, we had passes. We were very close to the public, Fort Pierce, and out in Medford, Oregon. Yeah.
Okay, where did you go from Wales?
I think it was a couple of camps in England. And we're gradually moving closer to the Channel coast, the southern coast. Because by this time there was big talk about the invasion. And it looked pretty much like we were going to be part of it. So every move is a little closer to the Channel.
Now, what kind of weapons did you carry?
An M1. Yeah,
The rifle or the carbine?
that's a rifle, 30 millimeter rifle.
Okay.
Took 8 clips.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones that had carbines were the non-cons, I think.
Okay. Must have been pretty close to D-Day then by the time...
Oh yeah, this is
You
all
got
in
into England.
May. Yeah, we went over in April. All of May, yeah, June. Then we finally got to Weymouth, which is a port on the English Channel. And they put us on an old boat. I mean old. An old converted Channel steamer, I guess. We rocked and rocked and rocked for a few days. And someone announced D-Day was June 5th. So you get your mind all set, everything all for that. Then they come out and say, postpone 1 day. So you had to go through all that agony again, you know. But we were assigned to assault teams. We were a battalion, 3 companies. And we made up 8 assault teams. That's about 35 men in a boat. And our job was to go in with the first wave and get rid of the obstacles all along the beach.
Mm-hmm.
There was, and there were hundreds of them.
Now those were those like triangular type affairs.
Tetrahedrons and
Mhm.
Belgian gates, things, big poles,
Now what were they made out of? Were they made out of wood or metal?
cast iron.
Okay.
There was one like a big telephone pole, that was wood, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest were all cast iron. Yeah, and they were all scattered along the beach. Well, they had to be removed in order to open channels for the rest of the troops to come in.
Uh-huh.
That was our assignment. So,
Do you remember looking out and seeing how large the fleet was?
on the way over, oh my God, yeah. I wondered, what the hell am I, a little farm boy from New York State, doing in the middle of this thing? Jeez, oh, every ship you could imagine was there.
How about the aircraft that went over?
A lot of aircraft, yeah, a lot of aircraft.
Okay, do you think, if you didn't mind describing your landings?
Well, it took about 2 hours from our rendezvous. We were about 12 miles offshore. So I guess we must have left about 4 o'clock. 3:30, 4 o'clock to head for shore. And that was a rough ride. The guys are already seasick from waiting in the harbor back in Weymouth, waiting to go, you know, that rock. They got a lot of guys seasick. And the ride in didn't help any.
Now, what kind of craft did you go in on?
LCVPs, the landing craft. So there were a lot of sick men. And geez, I thought, here they are going to meet the biggest physical challenge of their life, and they're just not physically prepared, you know, they're sick. Well, our coxswain was very good. He took us in as far as he could. We were only in the water just below our knees. So we got off, and
Were you under heavy fire all the
yeah.
way in?
not all the way in.
Mhm.
As soon as we approached, it started, yeah. And as far as I know, we all got off the boat okay. And then, oh, it was just awful. Guys were dropping all around you and screaming and yelling. And I took the rubber raft was floating next to me, so I took the tow rope, put it over my shoulder, and I started pulling it towards a bunch of guys where we could use it. And all of a sudden, a big, terrific explosion. The raft had been hit. I was cartwheeled. I guess I was knocked senseless. And when I came in, I was flat on my back, spitting blood. I felt like I was hit by a freight train. And I untangled the cord, I pulled it in, and all I had was a big, ragged piece of rubber. Oh, meanwhile, somebody had laid 3 bodies on the raft. 2 were face down. I couldn't tell who they were, but 1 was face up. I knew him. But after the explosion, they were all gone. Our demolition, the raft, the bodies, everything gone. All gone. So I got together with a couple other guys. One of them was an officer. He says, well, we can't do anything. We've lost all our demolition. It's every man for himself now. So you just tried to make the shore the best you could. And we soon got parted. And I'm stumbling along, and I see this guy laying in the water moaning. I looked down, it's one of my buddies. I know who he was. He's got this terrific gash in his leg. You could see the bone come through. And I knew if I left him there, he's going to drown. So he was a lot bigger than I was. I didn't know how the hell am I going to get him into the shore. So I tried a lot of things, and I finally got down behind him, put his body between my legs, that under his armpits I could push like this, you know. It was very slow and very exhausting, but we were making progress. Then all of a sudden a tank comes up next to me. The guy looks down and says, boy, you're in trouble. He hops down. And together, the 2 of us could get the guy up up by the sand dunes where it's a little safer. And then he ran back to his tank. I don't know his name, where he's from, or boy, he helped. So I finally got a medic to look. This guy's name was Joe, to look after Joe, and he said it'd be best to leave him there. But I wanted to be with some of my guys, and I was trying to find some of my own buddies. But everybody come up, flop along beside me. They weren't them. But I finally noticed a bunch of guys way about a quarter of a mile away. And they seemed to be behind a pretty good cliff, whereas I was just the sand dunes for protection. So I said, I'm going to try to make that. So there was a tank and a Jeep between us. I said, I'll make the tank, take a rest, and I'll make the Jeep, and I'll get it with the guys. That's the way it worked out. I got it. And it happened to be an aid station where they were collecting the wounded. And as I wandered amongst them, so many of them were my own buddies. That's why I hadn't seen so many of them. Some of them recognized me, some of them didn't. But at least it was good to know that they were still alive. Yeah, that was quite a morning, quite a morning. And it looked pretty bad. I remember envisioning, hundreds of tanks coming over the hill at us, the Tiger tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And behind them screaming SS troops. We were just going to be driven into the sea. They were going to annihilate us. We had nothing to stop them from doing that, because we couldn't get the stuff in. The tide was coming in, and that was prohibiting their landing. And every time they land, they took up so much space, and there wasn't room to move. The tanks were having a hell of a time in what we call the shingle, which is a lot of gravel. They couldn't get the traction. There were some big anti-tank ditches, which was giving them trouble. But a destroyer came in awfully, awfully close. I couldn't imagine how close he came. And he pinpointed a couple of gun positions. He got those, and that made a hell of a big difference. And finally, some guys grouped together, and they went up, made it up the hill, took care of a lot of the German gun positions. And we were finally able to get off the beach and on up into the bluffs.
How long would you say that took?
All morning. It wasn't until mid-afternoon that we had any type of an advance whatsoever. And Bradley, he's way out Omar Bradley, he's way out there watching it all. He was pretty close to calling it off. Because over at Utah Beach, they were having much better success. And he was seriously thinking of calling off Omaha. Just leave us, I guess. And diverting all the attention to Utah. But thankfully that didn't have to happen. Well, all I could say, it was one awful, awful morning. Nothing can prepare you for death. It's so quick, so final. Nobody's ready for it. As tough as they think they are, it gets them. And when they're your own friends, boy, it hurts.
Did you eventually end up with a lot of your own men from your own unit, or?
Yeah, we finally managed to congregate what there were left of us. And they took roll calls, and we realized that we had lost a lot of guys. But
Do you know approximately how many were lost?
I think they said 45%.
Now, you were wounded there. You said the explosion.
Well, they considered that a wound, a concussion. Some shrapnel in my back.
Uh-huh. Did you get treatment for that, or was it left untreated for a while?
Left untreated, yeah. It didn't slow me down. I still had my senses, you know, and I could maneuver okay. But they did give me the Purple Heart for it. Yeah, that was quite a day.
Now, what was the evening like?
Well, we're all soaking wet, cold, miserable, hungry, very, very sad. We're up in the bluffs, which is the hills that come off the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't have any fires, of course. Oh, one guy, somebody hollered gas. And that's the worst word you can hear in war is gas. Evidently it was a joke or it was a false alarm, but boy, it caused a lot of trouble for a while.
Now, did you have a gas mask with you at that point?
Yeah. A lot of guys didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They lost it or something. They were running around crying like babies. But thankfully we didn't need them. That night, I think the Germans sent over a couple of planes. But every ship in the channel, everything on shore opened up on them. It was the 4th of July, you wouldn't believe. The tracers, started going up there. I don't know if he made it out or not. But that was a big break for us that the Luftwaffe was so weak. They didn't have the planes or something. That if they'd had, it'd been a whole different story. Their air power. And then we spent a couple of days cleaning up the beach, you know, the debris and opening up the channels to allow the troops to come in. Taking care of the minefields. Yeah, and we got the Presidential Unit citation.
Mm-hmm. Now, what division were you with?
Well, at that time, we come in with the 1st Division.
Uh-huh.
We were what you call a bastard battalion, 299th Combat Engineers. It's 3 companies plus an H&S company. It's only about 600, 650 men total.
Mm-hmm.
You're really not with anybody. You're under a Corps' jurisdiction. But you go wherever you're needed. So we served many, many masters. But for the initial morning of the invasion, the first wave, we were under the 1st Division.
After you spent your several days clearing the beach up, did you have explosives at that time? Were you blowing up the obstacles, or?
Yes, yeah. And then some bulldozers would come in. The bulldozers did most of the work. They could push them aside, clear it all out better.
After those several days, where were you assigned, or what did you do?
They took us a few miles inland to an orchard. And they sort of gave us a rest period, a day of rest to sleep. Geez, we needed sleep. Get some hot food, recuperate, you know.
So they set up kitchens, and what kind of hot food did you receive?
I think we got it from another outfit. He worked a deal with another outfit to get hot food. But up until then, it was K-rations.
Now, did you get replacements to fill your ranks again?
Yeah, in a week or so we got replacements, right?
How were they accepted into the unit?
Well, I made a promise myself, I'll never make friendships like I had before, because it hurts so much when you lose them. But that didn't last long. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't my nature. And I reasoned that, hell, these guys are soldiers. They were told what to do. They're only following orders, you know. So I became friendly with a lot of them, a lot of good buddies. But it was weird. They told us they knew they were replacements for us about 3 weeks before D-Day. That's how much faith the Army had in us. They knew it was a suicide mission. And they already had our replacements all ready to take over. So that made you feel kind of funny.
Did they have engineering training also, or?
No, they were just basically infantry, I guess.
Now, did they have to kind of learn on the job then?
Yeah, yeah. But they were good guys. They fit in well. Yeah.
After your little rest, where did you go from there?
I think we had to build some bridges. This was in Normandy, around Carentan, St. Lo, that area. And we got the stuff coming in from the sea, but it's got to get inland. And the Germans have blown a lot of the bridges and screwed up the roads, so we had to get that taken care of pretty much.
Were they Bailey bridges that you built?
Some, yeah, some. Some wooden bridges.
Now, when you had to build a wooden one from scratch, where did the materials come from? They came in from the beachhead, and
Well,
or did you have to use something that was there?
tear
Or?
down an old barn or an old building, get the big rafters out of it, you know. You had to salvage a lot of this stuff. And then once we broke the hedgerows, that was what was crazy in Normandy. It slowed us down so much. But once we broke out of there, it was just clear sailing with northern France, right up to Belgium. We were going crazy. The biggest problem was logistics, keeping up with the front troops, the gasoline and the materials that they needed, you know. That was the big problem.
Were you? Did you have to march, or did you have trucks
We
with
had
your
trucks.
unit?
Every squad had their own truck, yeah. Yeah. And some Jeeps. We had our own bulldozer. A compressor, so we could jackhammer and all this stuff. Yeah, we're pretty well equipped. They're pretty independent, pretty self-sufficient. You know, we could exist on our own. We didn't need to rely on other outfits so much. Very self-reliant.
How long were you in continuous combat, or on the front, or following the front?
Okay, from D-Day morning till I guess a week before VE Day.
Really?
Continuous. We hit all 5 campaigns. It took active part in every one of them.
Now, where were you when the Bulge took place?
Down in southeastern Belgium, right next to Luxembourg. They sent us down there because it's quite a quiet area, and a lot of troops were being sent there for rest and recreation. You know, it was very calm, nothing going on. Then all of a sudden, Hitler came in with the Bulge.
Now, excuse me for a moment. Did you have winter equipment by then?
No. It wasn't spring that we finally got the snowpacks and the heavy stuff and all that, yeah. We had our overcoats, is the heaviest thing we had.
You didn't have any, did you have boots, or did
We
you?
had, they call them Arctics. Remember Arctics? You had the buckles on them, that's
Yeah.
what we had. But the guys coming in from Paris and the officers checking us out, they all had nice Nice new snow packs and fur collar jackets. Oh, God. Yeah.
How involved were you in the Ardennes?
Well, we were right in the middle of his drive. Caught right smack in the middle of it. We had to put up a lot of roadblocks. Man, a lot of little defensive lines. Protect some bridges, wire some bridges, blow some bridges. Anything to slow him down. And it was our little outfits like us that was giving him the most trouble. The Germans. He'd need that bridge, but somehow we'd get there before him and blow it up. Now he's got to find another route to go. What they call us, the damn engineers. But it finally petered out. He ran out of gas and equipment.
Where did you go from the Ardennes then into springtime? Did you stay in that area for the winter, or did you?
No, the Bulge, as they call it, ended about the middle of January. We were in that area for a while, then we moved north. I got involved with the bridge, the old railroad bridge.
Remagen?
Remagen. We were at Remagen. Yeah. That was our next big step.
Could you tell us about that?
And the Roar River, we got involved in the Roar River. Well, the old Remagen Bridge, they captured it, you know. They used it for, I guess, about a week. Got a lot of troops and equipment over it. But it finally gave in. Couldn't take it anymore. But by that time, we had built some pontoon bridges, and we were running a ferry. So we were in pretty good shape. But that was a hot spot for a while. That's the first time Hitler used his jets at Remagen. And these things we were mesmerized. The speed and maneuverability they had. So that was quite a bit of fun. And then we got, by now we're pretty much all the forces are over the Rhine River. We're into Germany proper. And that's where you saw the damage. The worst damage in the war was in Germany. The cities and stuff. They'd taken an awful beating. And we built some prisoner of war stockades. We were in charge of those for a while. But most of it was clearing roads and keeping roads open for the traffic. I guess we're around Nuremberg when the war finally ended.
Were you aware of the concentration camps?
Not at that time. No. That all come out, maybe a month or so after the war they discovered them. Yeah. But we never saw them. So I guess we were quite close to one. We didn't realize it. Dachau. Very close, but we didn't realize what it was. We never got to Berlin. Got to Munich, Frankfurt.
Did you ever come in contact with the Russian forces at all, or?
We didn't. No. No.
How were you received by the German people, the civilians?
Well, stiffly, I guess. They just wouldn't want to admit they lost the war, you know. The kids were okay. They take the candy and the chewing gum and all this, but the older crowd, they were pretty aloof. Pretty aloof.
Do you recall where you were and Your reaction when you heard about the death of President Roosevelt?
Yeah, that was in April, I think. Well, just a few weeks before VE Day. We were up, we were in Germany. We just finished from Ardennes. It hit us hard, because everybody loved Roosevelt. He was the only president we'd ever known, you know? And he was my idol. And I thought, gee, he's my commander-in-chief. Boy, I felt so great. But that one hit everybody very, very hard, yeah. And then the war ended, and
Where were you when it ended?
I think down around Nuremberg.
And what was your unit's reaction?
Oh, crazy, we were crazy. I don't know where it all came from, but we had anything you wanted to drink all of a sudden. And sadly, we lost the guy on VE Day. It was an awful hot day. And he hit it pretty heavy, and he went to his tent to sleep it off, and he suffocated. Or what do you call it when the sun hits you?
The sunstroke?
Yeah.
The heat stroke?
So, and then after we cooled down, we realized, hey, the war's still going on in Japan. And there's a big talk about they were going to invade Japan. And we knew, well, that's got to be a beachhead, and they'll want some experienced people. So we felt pretty sure we'd be called on to be part of it. So that didn't set too well. And then Truman dropped the bomb, and that was it.
What was your reaction when you heard about that?
The bomb? Oh, God, elation.
Now, where were you when were you still in Europe or?
Central Germany, yeah.
Now, was your unit used at all after, in the time you were there after the war to do any kind of reconstruction or anything like that? Cleaning up?
Well, we had a bulldozer, we had trucks, so yeah, we cleaned a lot of roads. I say we guarded a lot of prisoners. But eventually, we had done our part. It was time to send us home. Other troops were coming in to take over that occupation duty. And then they had the point system where they were sent home. What a joke that was.
Why?
Well, guys in Paris who never got out of Paris were going home ahead of guys who'd been up in the front lines. You know, it wasn't right. We got no points for D-Day. Nothing. If you were married and had a dependent, you got points. Let's see, that was May, November, May, June, July, August, September, October. It took me 6 months after the war ended to get on a boat to come home.
Did you come back as a unit?
Oh no, we're all split up. Some guys go here, some. Well, according to your points. See?
Right.
If you're 40 and I'm 20, you're gonna go before me. So you get all split up. Yeah.
When were you discharged?
November 45. Fort Dix. Yep.
How long did it take you to get back home to Auburn?
Let's see, I had to hit New York City. Oh, a day, I guess. Dead of night.
Were you expected when you reached home, or?
No, we didn't have a telephone in those days and all this communication stuff. But I did find my dad. I woke him up. He was just before he went on his night shift. So I was able to do that. Yeah.
Did you ever make use of the GI Bill?
Yeah, I went to school. Yeah. That was a godsend. That helped a lot.
How about the 52-20 Club?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That helped.
Did you ever stay in contact with anyone from service?
Yes. Well, I was at school and away, but they had some of the guys had already started a reunion association. And I didn't get involved with it until it was in its about 10th year, perhaps. But that would be in the 50s. Let's say in the 60s. And then I'd go every year, we'd have a reunion. And because we're all from, that was the other unique thing, the 299th was all from New York State.
Oh, it was, okay.
Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, Binghamton, and all the little towns and villages in between. Very unique. So we'd have our reunions, Rochester, Syracuse, Binghamton, Buffalo, and we go around again. And they were very, very successful because nobody had that far to go. You know what I mean? Usually a reunion, Christ, it's in Los Angeles and you live in Maine. They're tough. And we kept them going right up to the old guys had let it go, but the young 299th was kept activated. It's still an active unit. And those guys, those veterans, have taken it over. They're trying to keep it going. A lot of them from Vietnam. Yeah.
Out of, you said approximately 70 were drafted together and maybe 50 or 60 went into your unit. About how many of them survived the war? Do you recall? Any idea?
Well, that would be the Auburn boys.
Yes, yes, of the Auburn group.
Oh, probably 60%, 70%. Let's see, we only lost 1, 2, 3, 7, 6 on D-Day. Did you see the monument in Auburn?
No.
Yeah. We put up a monument for the 6 guys we lost on D-Day.
Did you ever get to see a USO show at all?
Oh yeah, after the war.
After.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Bob Hope, and Jimmy Durante. About Jack Benny. Yeah. This was in Nuremberg. This was in the stadium. Maybe you've seen it. It's showed a lot when they shoot
yes.
the Hitler's big famous stadium. That's where we saw him right there.
How do you think your military service changed or affected your life?
Very much, very much. Maybe you realize the value of life, I guess, or friendships mean more than you think they do. And, you can't take too much for granted. Little things that you would brushed off, perhaps, now had a definite meaning to them, values and things of that sort. It made you realize that we're a democracy, but we're very fragile, and you gotta keep alert, you know, vigilant. You gotta be willing to go and do that, play your part, if you're going to be part of this democracy.
Well, thank you very much for your interview.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it kind of, was it smooth? I don't know.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Smooth.
Yes,
you
it
did
was.
You did a wonderful job.
Oh, one last thing I want to ask you, if you don't mind. Have you seen the Private Ryan movie at all?
Yeah.
What was your reaction to it?
Well, the first half hour is very, very realistic. It's pretty authentic. He did a great job there. But from then on, they search for this.
Yeah.
It becomes a Hollywood movie, I thought. You know? I don't think they would have sent a captain. Second Louis, maybe. And another thing that bothers me, they get into a gunfight in some little town. One of their guys gets shot, he's laying out, they all pour sulfur. Then they take their canteens and they wash it all off. I cannot understand that. But the first half hour or so, that is it. Boy, very, very realistic. Except the one, I caught one place, he had the poles going the wrong way on the beach. The poles. This is the channel, this is the land.
Mm-hmm.
The poles were like that. So the landing craft would come up and swerve off. He had them going like that.
Oh, okay. Oh.
That's what they got caught in.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else I forget now. Oh, but I thought the way they introduced it, the old guy in the cemetery, and then they focused to the young guy, that was beautifully done. Great picture, really.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
bet.